everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. I'm so happy to have you here today. In today's video, we're going to be making some custom Christmas cards using Clipart Families. This is a really fun way to make your own custom cards, but you can really do this with all sorts of things. You can make pictures, you can make stickers, there's a lot you can do with these. We're going to go over how to upload all of the elements that you need to, plus I'm going to show you how to turn this into a card and add some foil to it just for a little touch of fun. This is a really easy process and I can't wait to show you how to do this with your Cricut and in Design Space. Now I'm going to link below some of my favorite Clipart Family designs that I have used over the years and really loved. And before we get started, be sure that you're subscribed here on YouTube. That way you don't miss out on any of the fun, crafty DIY content we have coming. It is completely free to subscribe and I would love to have you as part of my crafty family. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be using this Christmas family clip art from Creative Fabrica. I will link it down below, as well as a link if you want to sign up for Creative Fabrica. It's one of my favorites. It's $3.99 a month most of the time, but be on the lookout. They usually do that special quite often. If it's not, it's $4.99 a month. So you'll want to wait for the $3.99 a month special. But everything on their website's included, so it's really great. It also comes with the commercial use license, so you can sell finished products with whatever you download here. So for this one, we're going to just click download and we're going to save this into our Christmas card folder. Go ahead and click save. Now, anytime that you save files, you'll need to do what's called extracting or unzip the folder because they come as a compressed folder. So you're going to open up the folder that you just downloaded and you're going to click extract all. And then simply click extract. And then it will extract all of those files from the folder so that we have access to them and we'll be able to preview the different images. Then what we'll do is we're going to upload those over into Cricut Design Space and create our card. Now you can see that all of our elements are coming in. We've got Christmas trees, sweaters, hairstyles, dogs. We've got lots of different elements that we can choose from for this card that we're going to make. So you can see there are tons and tons and tons of different styles. So let's head over to Design Space and I'm going to show you how to upload these. In Cricut Design Space, the first thing that you'll need to do is select the upload option. So click upload and then you're going to choose upload image. And from here, we can either browse for our file or we can just drag and drop, which is what I prefer because I think it's a little bit easier to see what you want to use. So in our Christmas family folder here, we just kind of need to decide which elements we want to use. So like what color shirt, what hair, all of that stuff, what background elements do we want to use? So I think let's go with, we'll start with these background elements. I think I want to use the fireplace and the Christmas tree. So I'm going to drag it and drop it and you can only do one image at a time. So this is a little bit time consuming with your Cricut, but I'm going to go ahead and click continue and we can just keep going on. We don't have to do anything here. Once it loads, you don't have to remove any backgrounds or anything because these are transparent PNG files. So just click apply and continue. On this next screen, you want to choose flat graphic, and this is for print and cut, which is what we're going to be doing with this image. Click continue, and then you can change the name here if you want to, but I'm just going to click upload, and then I'll need to sit here and upload each of my elements individually, one at a time, and that's sort of the downfall to using Cricut for this, but we can definitely do this. It's just a little bit more time consuming. Now, once this loads, I'm going to go ahead and get everything else uploaded. So I'm not going to make you watch me do that because it's going to take me a minute. Now that I have all my pieces into my design space, what we need to do is size things, put things together. So I like to think of it as almost like putting together a puzzle or even a paper doll. So if you've ever done those. So what I want to do first, I'm going to go ahead and just grab everything. So I'm going to select all up here at the top and I'm just going to size it all down a lot more just so I can see all of my pieces. And we are going to have to size these kind of individually as well, but I wanted to be able to see all the parts. So the first part we have is the guy. And so I'm going to just kind of take the pieces and parts that belong to him and just kind of put them all in one spot. And then I have my background pieces. So I'm going to move those over. And then we have our lady. So we'll put her there. The dog can go over in the corner. And then this is her hair and her head. This way you can kind of individualize each item and start working with it as you go. So the first thing I'm going to do, I want the guy in the center because his hands are, going to go around the dog and the lady. And I think I'm going to put the dog, I just want to see kind of how he looks this direction or this. I think I want to be able to see his eyes. So he's going to go on this side of the guy. But let's go ahead and we'll start with the man body here. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to size the head. And this head needs to go under the sweater. So you see how the sweater collar goes behind the neck piece? We want to make sure that that's not happening. So what you can do is right click on the sweater and you just want to bring that sweater to the front. That's going to need to be in front of everything anyways because we want the sweater of the lady to be behind the sweater and we want the dog behind the sweater too. Now from here you can kind of size the head. If you want it to fit a certain way, you just kind of size it however you're happy with it. There's no like exact right way. You just make it however you like. And then you get it lined up to where you want it. I think that looks pretty good. And then you want to take his hair piece. And obviously it looks real awkward right now. So for this, you want to just, again, size this to fit on his head to where you're happy. You can have his hair go a little bit lower onto his neck, a little higher onto his neck, wherever you want it to go. I'm going to just slide it over just a touch. There we go. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. Now we have his hand. So rather than uploading this hand twice, I'm just going to flip it. It'll be totally fine. But again, we need to size this so that it fits. Now I did accidentally change the scale, so I'm just going to click undo really quick. I'm going to grab that hand, and again, this will need to be under the sweater because you see you want the cuff to go under the hand. So I'm going to just kind of size my hand based on the cuff of the sweater. I think that looks okay. It's not perfect, but I think it'll do. So what I want to do now is I'm going to copy this hand. So I'm just going to duplicate it. Then I want to go up to flip, and I want to flip it horizontal. And now you'll see that we just have to put that hand under the sweater. So you can right click on this. You can send this backwards, and now it'll be behind our sweater. Now again, I need to size it down a little bit. So I think I'm going to size this one down just a touch, just so that they do fit a little bit better into the cuff. I think that looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but it'll do for what we're doing here. Then what I want to do now is kind of play with the sizing of the lady. So she's really little compared to him, so I'm going to make her a little bit bigger. I don't want her to be huge, but I want her to be a little bit larger. And then for this, you can take and just sort of put her wherever you want. You can have it so like his hand goes like midway, or you can have her sit a little bit closer to him. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you. Now you do want to make sure that she goes behind his hand and his sweater. Now we have her head, which obviously is way too small right now. So I'm going to go ahead and size this up a bit, and I'm just going to kind of play with it until I'm happy. Now I will say I feel like right now her head looks huge because she doesn't have any of her hair on it. Once you add the hair, her head will look a little bit better. Now the hair obviously needs to be in front of her head, so you can right click on this. You can just bring this to the front, and her hair is going to be way too big right now. So we're going to size her hair down a bit until we're happy. Now we wanted to cover all of her head, all of like the peachy color of her head. There you go. I think that looks pretty good. Then we can take our dog. Now again, you can size the dog up, down, whatever you want. If you want him to be kind of a bigger dog, it's up to you. But I think I'm going to go with a little bit of a larger size dog because it's a border collie. And so those are pretty large dogs. Now, before I start playing with the background, I want to just go ahead and select all of my people and my dog, and I'm going to go ahead and flatten those. That tells Design Space that it's all one single piece, and I don't want to change it, I don't want to move it, I don't want to do anything else to it, but I am going to size it down just a little bit really quick because it is too big, and I just want to look at like the background now and kind of play with that. So I want to have the fireplace, and I want them to be sitting in front of that fireplace. And I'm just going to kind of scooch the fireplace over just a little bit. And then I want this Christmas tree in there as well. So I'm going to move that Christmas tree just over a smidge. And I don't mind if it goes in front of the fireplace. I do want it to go a little bit in front of it. But I want it to look kind of bigger than the fireplace because the Christmas tree is going to be pretty big compared to a fireplace. Now from here, you can kind of move the people around wherever you want them. If you want them more in front of the tree, if you want them more centered, you do whatever you want. You can have them even, but I want mine to sit just a little bit below all of those pieces. Now you're going to see that you have a warning over here in your layers panel. It's because the tree is too big, but don't worry, we're going to size everything down here in just a moment. So what I want to do now is, once I'm pretty happy where everything is, so if I want to move them over a little bit, up a little, I can do whatever I want to do, but once you're happy where they're sitting, I want you to take everything, select all, and you're going to use that flatten option again, and that's going to just tell Design Space this is all one piece. Now we are going to flatten this to another piece because we're making this into a card, and we're going to add some writing to this. So I'm going to size this down just a little bit for now. We'll come back to sizing this in just 2 seconds, because what I want to do now is I want to make my card piece that it's going to sit on. So I'm going to open up my shapes panel, and I'm going to use a square. Now we are going to change this to a rectangle. We're going to be doing a 4x6 card. So the width on this needs to be 6 inches wide, but I need my height to be 8 because I'm going to split it in half. So to help us fold our card in half, I'm going to use a score line. So under your shapes, go to the line. Now what's great about this line is that it can be used for a basic cut, but you can also use it as a score line. So currently it's set to score, but you could also use it as basic cut. You can use it as a draw, whatever you want to do. But for this, we're going to use it as a score line. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my card color really quick just to light gray so we can see better. First thing I want to do is change the height of my score line to 6 so that it will be the same width as our card. And then I want to rotate it 90 degrees. Then all I want to do is select the card, which is this gray piece, and that score line. I want to go into a line and I want to center them. Now you'll see that our score line is in the center of our card. Now all I have to do is click attach. Now I'm going to leave this light gray for now, but we will change it back to white in just a few moments, but I find it's easier to see what I'm doing if I leave it on a light gray. Now I want to fit my people onto my card, so I'm going to right click on my card and send that to the back. And then I'm going to size these guys so that they're going to fit onto our card, and we want to leave some space for some writing. So I'm going to kind of put them right about here. Now, if you want them perfectly centered in the middle, select your entire design, go to a line, and you can center it horizontally, and that'll make sure they are centered. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some text to this. So I'm going to add my text, and we're going to move this up so we can actually see it. And we're just going to put Merry Christmas on it. We'll just do something very simple. Now from here, I am going to be using our foil tool because I think that's going to be a really fun one to use. So I do want to use a thinner font, one that will look really nice when it writes. I have a lot of free fonts that will write beautifully, so I'm going to go ahead and link those down below for you, because basically what the foil does is it is basically just a writing tool. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to pick out a couple fonts, see which one I like. I'll let you know which one I end up with. Actually, I think I'm going to use this one. So this one is absolutely silent, and this is a single line font. So what I want to do is just kind of get this where I want it on my card. Now again, I'm going to go ahead, select the entire design. I'm going to align it, and I want to use my center horizontally. Now I don't mind that it goes over the print at all. I think that's pretty cute. But what I want to do is up in operation, I want to make sure that I have my text selected. I want to go to my operation, and I want to change this to foil. Now foil has 3 different tip types, and I find that for most of mine, I really do like to use the medium tip. I just think it looks really nice. It's a little bit thicker without being too thick. So once I've done this and I'm pretty happy with everything, first thing I want to do is I'm going to change the color of my card. So in order to do that, under your attach, so I need to change the color of the card. So under attach, use this little arrow to open it, and then just select the square, and you're just going to change that to white. Now we need to take the attached square and the flattened item here, and we actually need to flatten them together so that Cricut doesn't cut around our people and our card. So what I'm going to do, because this is the way Cricut Design Space works, I want to detach my score line from my square. I want to select my square and my flatten piece, and I want to flatten them again. Now it's going to look like things disappeared. They didn't. Everything just moved behind our design. You can go ahead and just drag this down to the bottom of your design here, and you'll see that everything came back. Now we have one more step to do. We need to select the entire design, and now we want to attach it. So what this does is this tells Design Space that our little scene here and our card is only one piece, so it will only cut around the outside of our card. Then by attaching the score line and the writing, that tells Design Space that that's exactly where we want our things to be on our card, on our blank, on our cardstock, whatever you would like to call it, and not to move those. Now, once I've done all that, I want to make sure that I save my design. So I'm going to go ahead and save this as Christmas card and click on save. Now from here, once it saves, what you want to do is click on the make button, and I'm going to show you kind of what this screen's going to look like. I needed to change my font. The other one was being a little bit weird, so just ignore that fact, but I will link the font that I did use down below. So now what you're going to see is you'll see your score line here, and you're going to see your Merry Christmas. Now it shows it on this screen, but don't worry, it is not going to actually do anything as far as like printing out the score line or the words, because it just shows it on this screen, and then over here it shows you the order in which it's going to do the different tasks. So it's going to do the print and cut first, then it's going to score it, and then it's going to do our foil. So what is going to be a little bit of an issue with the way we have this set up is how the foil is going to do. But I'm going to show you how to do it so that it works out really well and you're not having to worry about like the score line leaving foil behind or anything like that. It's a lot easier than it sounds. So now what I want to do is I'm going to click continue, and this is where you're going to see what it's actually going to print. So if you click send to printer right here, you'll notice that your score line and your Merry Christmas are gone. It's not going to print those out, so don't worry if you see those on your screen. Now I am going to be using some white cardstock for this, and I'm going to use my Epson EcoTank inkjet printer. Now for this, I don't need to leave any bleed on. There's no color around the edges of our card, so there's no point to it. And then I want to use my system dialog. That's going to allow me to make sure I get the best print possible from my printer. So what I'm going to do is click print, and this is not going to send it to your printer right away. It's going to actually open up our printer preferences so that we can make sure we have some settings set up so it's going to print really, really well. Then all we need to do from here is click preferences after you make sure you have the correct printer selected. So I do, so I click preferences. Now from here, I double check that my document size is my 8.5 by 11. I make sure portrait is our orientation, and then from my paper type, I like to use premium presentation paper matte. I make the quality from standard to high, and I make sure that color is selected. I go under more options and I turn off my high speed print because that allows my printer to take a little bit more time and not leave any lines. Once you have all of those settings, go ahead, click OK, and click print to send it to your printer. The first tool that we're going to use is our scoring wheel, and this one is number 2. This is the double scoring wheel. So you want to open up clamp B, take out whatever tool you had in there previously, and then you want to replace it with your scoring wheel. Now I want to make sure that I put my paper onto my mat. Now I'm using a very not sticky green mat. You want to use a light grip or a green mat that isn't super sticky. Press this down, and this is going to score our card first. So we'll go ahead, load this in. It's going to read our tool, and then it'll score across. Once it's done, it'll start flashing your Cricut button, and then it tells you which tool to load in for your next function. So for this one, we're going to be doing the foil tool. So I need my foil tool, and then I need to check and make sure I have the right blade or I guess tip. So my tip should have 2 lines on it. If you need to change out your tip, you just pull it out and put the other one in, but I'm using the medium tip. So I'm going to take out my tool, and then we need to place our foil onto our page here. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's really easy. Now we need to put our foil on. So what you do, cover the area where the image or whatever you're putting on there is going to go. Now I do not like using the tape that Cricut provides. I don't like it. It rips up paper. It's not sticky. It's just not good. So I use some painter's tape, and I'm going to painter's tape it down on one side, and then I'm going to take another piece and I'm going to pull it really tight across, and I'm going to place another piece, and then we'll add some more tape to the top and the bottom. Now my tape is pretty wide, so I do tend to just kind of like rip it into bits. That way it's not quite as big, and I want to be careful with it over the image here of our design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape the top section up here, but I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit of tape along this edge. And then I'm just gonna put a little bit here because I just wanna try not to get it on to the people and like the image. So we're just gonna put it down. I'm just gonna rip this off just a little bit. And that should hold just fine. But again, you wanna make sure that this is held down really tight. You wanna make sure that the foil is tight. So then you hit the Cricut button, it'll read our tool, and then it'll start doing the design for our lettering. Now, before you go to cut this, you're gonna need to remove your painter's tape and your foil, because if you don't, it's not gonna cut correctly. So I just carefully peel off all of the painter's tape. You don't have to worry too much about the foil, but I do try to be careful because I can always reuse bits of the foil on another project. So I do try to be careful when I remove it, but I do really take my time getting that painter's tape off. And then you'll see that you have your foiling on there. Now I will say that I don't love how it came out. I'm not a huge fan of the Cricut Foil Tool, but I still think it did an okay job. Now we need to switch it back into our fine point blade. So you just switch out tool B here from your foil tool to your fine point blade. Then go ahead, click the C button, and then we'll cut around your design. Now, before I pull this off, I do just always double check to make sure that it cut through, which it did. I'm gonna go ahead and unload this, and then all I'm simply going to do is flip my mat over to remove my card from my mat, and then I'll slide the machine out of the way, and we'll fold it in half, and then I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so we have our card. All we simply need to do is find the score line on the card, and then just fold along that. Now, I do find that using like a bone folder or a pen or something like with a blunt edge can help you fold this so it's really, really neat. But I think it came out pretty cute. I'm gonna get you guys a better look at this so you can see how it came out. And after all that, here is the finished card. I think the design came out absolutely beautiful. The colors are really great. Make sure you use those print settings. But the foil, as usual from Cricut, is a little disappointing. But I still think it looks all right, and it kind of goes with the theme being a little more distressed since we're using more of a watercolor look. Now, if you have any questions about doing this, please let me know in those comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. I'll link everything that we used down below so you can very easily find it and make your own cards. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, happy crafting.